Hey everyone, so just before we get into the real video for today, I wanted to preface this by saying that this video is a lot more unfiltered thoughts. Like I kind of explain why in the video, but it's basically, I feel like the main concepts of Palantir have kind of covered now. And I do explain concepts, but I feel like it's a bit repetitive. So I think a bit more unfiltered is better so that it can be more interactive. You guys can have more questions. And yeah, I just kind of want to test out how this works. So leave any comments for feedback on if it was good or not. Hey everybody, welcome back. So gonna jump right into it today. Today we're gonna be talking about collaboration. I think it'll be probably a shorter video, I hope at least, because I think if you've been following the series, the examples are becoming kind of similar. Like we're looking at this connected, integrated pattern that Palantir is providing, and now we're kind of just looking at it from different lenses, and today's lens will be collaboration. So I'm not going to go too much again into depth about the connected nature of stuff. I'm just going to talk a little bit more about what's out there and a little bit of what Palantir offers. So yeah, without taking too much time, let's just get right into it.
So knowledge management is important, which is a way of saying that data and metadata are both important. But again, we're missing one crucial piece of the puzzle here. Because data and metadata are increasingly abundant, and they're increasingly cheap. Cheap to collect, cheap to store. And in most analytical organizations, we find that the most scarce resource is actually something else. The scarcest resource is actually analysis. It's what your analysts produce. It's the application of that human judgment, experience, and insight against the raw information at your disposal. That's the most valuable thing. And so from the beginning, Palantir was designed not just to accommodate the act of analysis, but also to make it easy to share the results of that analysis across the enterprise. The analysis that you produce on top of your data is actually as important or more important than the raw data itself. And so this brings us to the idea of collaboration, allowing individuals and groups of individuals to benefit from each other's work, to work together to build this common picture of reality that analysis implies. This is actually a much trickier concept than I think we first realized when we got into it. Because collaboration has some very contradictory demands that it imposes. On the one hand, the word itself implies that you have some shared picture of the world, right? If you and I are looking at totally different perspectives of reality, if we have totally different data that isn't consonant in some way, then by definition we're not collaborating. We're working totally separately in silos. But on the other hand, individuals and groups need a way to work together and also work separately. They need a way to pursue hypotheses, to test ideas in private, and then finally, once you have these differing views of reality, you need a way to take those and marry them up again and to update your common view of the world. So the way that Palantir approaches this is actually modeled on the way that software engineers work on large software projects, with hundreds of engineers making changes to different pieces of the code base at the same time. And it's a method called version control. And it enables exactly what I just said. It enables you to start as a group with the same view of reality, to make different kinds of changes, test different kinds of hypotheses, and then in the end, to reconcile those changes so that you can update your shared view of the world. And we do all this, of course, in a way that's completely secure, that shows each user exactly those pieces of information that he's allowed to see, no more and no less.
So the main problems today, at least pertaining to data and the data software space, and in terms of collaboration, is that there's no actual real way to collaborate, I would say. There's no tools that really let you work on problems at the same time. It's always collaboration in current paradigms is that me as an analyst on an analytics team does some work, then I put it in a dashboard and I share a link to someone, or then I send them the file to make some changes, things like that. So the problem with that is that you don't have the same understanding of the world. You don't have the same steps you took to do an analysis. And what happens if you want to work concurrently, or in parallel, So if you're just in this current paradigm where you're waiting for the next step to happen to then do your work. It's kind of slow that way. So this is one thing Palantir solves, and they solve it by integrating this concept of I don't know how to explain it exactly, but it's a concept where so it's called Git. It's pretty predominant in software, in application programming and stuff like that. It's basically what Git is a tool for logging changes in code. So by that, what I mean is, like, if we're both working on the same coding document, and I change something and then you change something and then we upload it, this Git system kind of just highlights all the differences and all the changes that were made, and it helps you to go through all of them step by step and then reconcile the differences, and lets you just work on what the differences are rather than first looking for all the differences and maybe missing some. So this is kind of what Git does. But again, Git is a separate system from all of the work you do. So what Palantir kind of does is allows for this to be within their platform again. So how would I say this? So yeah, the problems are like you make a dashboard. Maybe one person is good at doing a certain type of analysis and making visuals around that. Maybe someone else is better at different types of analysis and doing the visualizations around that. But how do you work in a way that you're both working at the same time, you're both working towards the same project on the same file, making changes on your own independent desktops or whatever, and then bringing that together? So other tools like Tableau, other visualizations, other platform kind of tools, like they don't really have this. Like this is very important, and I think other platforms don't really have this. Software engineers might not find this a great increment or a really important thing to add in a platform, but again, Palantir's main users and the main value they're providing is to business users who don't do code, who don't do change logs, and don't do SQL, stuff like that. So having this integrated and with some documentation to make it, what's the word, point and click, things like that, that then makes Git actually accessible and powering of change and efficiency. So it's really important that this is integrated, and I'm pretty excited to see how people who don't use Git just for like applications programming could maybe find other ways to use it, you know? So I don't really have specific examples on that, but that's the thing. I think it's such a different way of doing things that I believe that when put in the hands of people, just new ideas and products and services will come about. So yeah, I think it's pretty important. So some ways in which, other ways in which collaboration is changed or facilitated is how reports are generated. So when, say even if they didn't have this changelog thing and all of that, and I was just doing an analysis for a higher level business user, something Palantir does, because again of the connected nature of the tool, is that it kind of takes snapshots of every part of your analysis that you do. And one thing it can do is like make a PowerPoint based off every step that you took. So every step is a different slide. It kind of just populates this PowerPoint with what you did, with like snapshots of okay, this was the full data, like maybe some snapshot of the full data. Then you did a little transform. Why did you do that transform? What happens? So it kind of puts the skeleton of a presentation together, and then you can add your little details. And I think that's really important, because it's so annoying to make a PowerPoint, like do these screenshots, save them somewhere, you know, like click, drag, copy, paste. So something that makes your PowerPoint after you've done your work, that's like so valuable. Again, the example will be in the demo that's going to come up in the next video. It's going to be really cool. I personally think it's very cool because I hate PowerPoints. Or I don't hate PowerPoints. I hate the making them and like the tediousness, the unnecessary tediousness of making a PowerPoint. So that's another way collaboration is facilitated and made faster, because you just the system kind of tracks what you've done. So you're not trying to think about what you've done. You're just kind of sharing it. You're just collaborating in that sense. Some real life examples of what Palantir are doing in this collaboration space that I think are interesting, but I haven't really dug too deeply into is firstly the FedRAMP program, which they've announced. Basically, from my understanding of what that is that they're basically offering their platform and how it's integrated into all other government services, and then allowing other companies to join in, kind of connect their APIs, their plugins to Palantir system, and letting them just kind of run in a compliant way, in a compliant manner, so that they're not working on the parts of like, how do we make this secure enough to work with the government, stuff like that. So Palantir has solved that. What Palantir hasn't solved is like full-on applications off their platform. That's up to the creativity of new users who come on. So, and their ideas, their ways, their ethos for how something might help a government problem or whatever, like their personal take on what is helpful. So I think that's another aspect you can research and look into for collaboration on Palantir FedRAMP. I probably will be looking into it as well. And just to leave you on one more slightly very speculative thing that I think Palantir might allow in the future or will enable in the future is for companies that work on Palantir to kind of outsource or make their offering open source, so that people can kind of tap into their products and develop little features that they realize they need, and maybe sell that on to people who probably have similar needs and could benefit from having these little add-on tools. So it's basically user-generated features or software or content. So let's say your banking app, right? Let's say they give you kind of some rundowns with some AI assisted crap that doesn't really ever tell you anything, in my opinion. But imagine someone, because of how Palantir is a secure environment, imagine someone can kind of tap in or just develop a suite for that application and maybe give you features to tag your expenses as how you want to tag them, rather than in some banking apps, they just put like food or, grocery, whatever. Maybe you want to do it differently. Maybe you want to be way more specific. Like you want to have a subclass of food, then you want to do going out to fancy places, going out for casual dinners, and food from grocery. So you want to bucket it like that, rather than however the bank might do it. So if I'm correct, or not even correct, but like my speculation is that Palantir will allow for something like this. But then the thing that goes up is, will companies be okay with this? How secure really is Palantir? That's a big question, I would say. Like they talk about their security a lot, their privacy standards, things like that. Obviously, it works in the government, so that's kind of an indication, kind of why I think this might be possible. But I don't know. There's something like, it's hard to like for them to even show how the security stuff works and how effective it is. So, but I just feel like we haven't fully properly seen case studies or just like live demos of how the security works and why it's so much better. So I think that's something they should definitely work on to kind of portray and actually show people like, okay, we tried to access this from some certain account and we couldn't. So I think that will go a long way in building their brand and stuff like that. So I think that's something super important. But if they are as secure as they claim, things like that, then I don't see why FedRAMP can't expand to like the system like I'm talking about, where companies can allow other people not affiliated, not associated with their actual product to build little features that make the product a lot better, just because they're the ones using it. They know how people use it. And if anything, it's kind of like a business for this third party. It's like, okay, I see these little features that can be important. How can I build this, offer it through I forgot what the example I gave before was. But oh yeah, the banking thing. So how do I make these little features and then upload it to this banking app as something that kind of lives just adjacent to the app and can be sold to the customers of the bank for a slightly additional fee? Maybe just like, I don't know, even $1. Like if $1 for everyone on that banking app, so say it's a big banking app, and you're selling this extra feature that lets you categorize your spending however you want to, then that's a true like digital business, and digital while still keeping you connected to the real world, I would say. Like, and it's not really about going into VR, AR, things like that. So I think that's really like the kind of future of digital business that we will see. And then in the future, like I mentioned, actually, I was on Amit Kukraja's podcast, like, I don't even know now, like a year ago, maybe. And I was talking about like lawyers getting on to Palantir and coding these things. So, like maybe when you're doing a TurboTax or whatever, like a lawyer can go onto that website and add certain services that they think are useful, or, so that's why I think coding, along with another area of expertise going into the future, is going to be super important. And just it's just going to change how we look at business, how we look at digital goods, digital services, and while still being like in the real world and not like NFTs, which are just digital. So, and obviously also the bank isn't just gonna accept any features like this. Like there will probably be a process where the bank has to go over some security checks, or maybe Palantir can automate those security checks. Who knows? I think there probably is a route where that also happens. So, but at least to start, there will be some oversight, like some sort of compliance aspect where people need to check. But with time, I think it'd be just like a marketplace app store thing. It's like kind of like just an add-on to whatever other product or service you are trying to tap into. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I have to say in collaboration. The next video, which will be a pretty long video because the demo is also very long, but I'll probably just play it and like drop in and stop and make some comments every time I feel like it's necessary. But that's definitely something to look forward to. And I feel like it'll really bring together all the things I've said, and hopefully then prime you for understanding the whole system that Palantir is. But yeah, I think it'll also be the last video of this Palantir 101 series for a little while. I'll probably make a few more videos on Palantir. I think I kind of want to do a reaction video to my chat with Amit, and I also tweeted out to Shyam Sankar about one of the videos I did past in the series. So maybe going over his response in a video. But yeah, I think I'll start branching out from there after a little bit. Obviously, I'll come back to Palantir whenever I think it's pertinent and needed. But yeah, that's just a little update on the future of the channel. So yeah, I hope this was valuable. I know it was a bit different, less less scripted than the other ones. But I think it's also good because, again, like I said at the start, I've kind of explained a few of these concepts again and again. So now maybe I think this is a good way for you guys, the viewers, to kind of think about how this could affect your world. What are maybe websites you go on and they're like, oh, if they had this feature, it'd be really cool. So maybe start thinking for yourself, like, oh, which features would I build, like, for a company, things like that. So yeah, that's it for this video. See you in the next one.
So what I'd like to do now is switch over and give you a little bit of a sense of what this might look like in practice, sort of a day in the life of a Palantir analyst. And in this case, I'm going to be playing the role of a counterterrorism analyst who's particularly focused on terrorism finance in North Africa. You'll see that I'm tracking some leads in Egypt. And I want to show you sort of from start to finish what my day might look like. So starting from new information coming in from the field, I run that information down and do some investigation. And in the end, I have some conclusions that I want to share with the rest of my team and with the rest of the agency. And you'll see what sort of that whole life cycle looks like.